you remember as homework, we asked you to do two free personality assessments online, and it is just a dipstick to first of all determine whether you have a personality. And some of you failed the test, so you might have to retake it, some other time. Now, in my view, and the reason why we included it in this, we've dealt with topics like calling and, what am I supposed to do? Can I hear God's voice? And this morning on the relationship side, we all starting to get quite a good idea what it might be, what it might be that God actually challenges us to or invites us to start implementing in our spheres of influence. And the reason for this session is partly to discover something about yourself, because I believe in authentic leadership. So even if we look at all the different leadership styles, if you do a study on the life of Jesus and you ask yourself, so was he an autocratic, democratic leader? Whichever one of those well-defined leadership styles, which one would you say Jesus exemplified? So that's the answer we can normally expect, that Jesus exemplified servant leadership. And yes, but the answer is also no. Because there are certain stories which does not necessarily exemplify servant leadership. And I want to put it to you that Jesus exemplified all of the leadership styles. And I'm more of an advocate for situational leadership. And depending on the environment and depending on the need of a specific organization, at times we need the general. We need the autocrat to make decisions. We cannot go to a democratic vote on there's a missile coming, how are we going to respond, what are we going to do in a time of crisis? So you need that top-down approach. But we cannot always long-term sustainably build organizations on that style. We will leave too many casualties, in the process. So there's room for each and every one of us. And we all agree that God has good plans and great plans for our country, for our city, for our continent, and He wants each and every one of us to play a pivotal role in that. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever endeavored on one of those long-term projects, maybe the last year or two, with the economic crunch, not all of us could always go to these wonderful destinations over December. So we had to be creative to, just keep the kids alive. And in our household, we have endeavored on one of those projects where you assemble a 200,000 piece puzzle. I don't know if you've ever done one of those. And it takes you 40 days and 40 nights, and there's blood on the walls, splattered all over, and it's good team building in the family environment. But I don't know if it's ever happened to you where you assemble and it's for days and for nights, and you put each and every one of those little puzzle pieces together, and you expectantly waiting for this beautiful image, to just be unified. And let me tell you, one of the most disappointing things you will ever experience is as you gain closer to that finish line, you start counting those last few puzzle pieces left. And you start counting the holes left. And you realize someone, probably the dog, ate one or two of those pieces. What a waste. What a waste. I think it's similar. God has this beautiful picture planned, whatever organization, whatever business you might be involved in. And if you don't show up to be the best you that you can possibly be, you are that missing puzzle piece. And we're just staring at a blank hole. I've been in a few boardroom meetings where I could clearly identify who's the blank hole in that room. But that's a discussion for another day. Obviously, the organizations you're involved in, everyone is showing up all the time. I want to encourage you not to try and be like anyone else, but to really discover who has God made you to be. And all of us have blind spots or scotomas, and a good leader will surround him or herself with people that have strengths where you are maybe weaker in certain areas. And it's quite often it takes a team, and that's the beauty of a team. Different positions on the field in any type of team sport. So you focus to be the best you that you can be. Now, that's just a free motivational speaking minute. Simon, how did I do there? Okay, thank you. Please give me a few of those comments after. Oh, I managed to get 2 claps. Wow. Thank you. And P, it was only 1, so I'm improving. I'm moving it up. Figure out who you are, and I believe in personality profile assessment, psychometrics, and there are some experts even in the room, not to point to anyone, but Miriam, can you maybe just wave? Great. So if you want to understand yourself better, there are experts in the room that are certified to have you locked up at Weskoppies, most probably, but figure out who it is that you are. What is the main responsibility of a leader? Now, it depends on which organization you are, and you'll get different types of questions, but maybe 1 or 2 responses. What's the responsibility of a leader? Okay, to provide vision. I like that. To lead people. Let's go to Maxwell. To influence people. Activate. Okay. What about performance? I thought there's business people in the room. Shouldn't a leader drive performance, the bottom line, profit, certain targets, deadlines? Anyone in sales? Inspire people to drive performance. Okay, we're getting there. I believe your responsibility is to create an atmosphere conducive for, and then you can fill in the blank, profit, growth, sustainability, whatever it is. There's no way you can make someone do anything. So I started off my career, unless you have a gun, that normally helps. But still, it's that person's choice. So I started off my career as a teacher. And one of my favorite activities, which I did every now and then, those difficult classrooms. I would pick the ringleader, and normally sitting there at the back, and we see you there, those smokers and those, guys that went at school, behind, well, I'm not going to share your secret spots. I would pick one guy out, and I would invite him to the front and just come and help me quickly illustrate something. Without him noticing on his way, I was contemplating if I had to do this today or not, but I would take a glass of water. As he arrives in front, I would throw the water in his face. So strategically, I would, of course, position myself 2 or 3 meters away from him. And to see the reaction is normally priceless. It's normally shock. You don't know. You've been thrown with water in the face. You've been publicly humiliated. And I can see, some of the people in the education space in the room. It's a miracle that I didn't end up on a few newspaper headlines. Child abuse. And what I would ask in that environment is, I say, what just happened? I mean, I threw someone in the face. In most cases, that poor child did not act aggressively. I would say, let's picture this person would have now acted aggressively and been angry and whatever. Did I make him angry? And the class would normally say, yes, sir, you made him angry. I said, no, I made him wet. I didn't make him angry. I have zero control over someone else's emotions or how he reacts or how he responds to situations. So whatever life throws at you, and Simon, is this a better? Oh, thank you. Okay, so I retried that. Your attitude. Yeah. Thank you. Your attitude, how you approach life and how you approach situations is very, very important. So let's get to these 2 assessments, and I'm not certified or an expert in this in any way, but I love all these different tools, and I think all of us are so complex that it's impossible to just choose one. There are great tools out there, and I love most of them, but never box yourself into just this specific thing, and take a few of them, and it depends on the time of the day and all those type of things. But back to my previous point, what are you responsible for as a leader? It's to create an atmosphere conducive for growth or for profit. So one of the things I despise is a performance management system. PMS. That's the abbreviation of a performance management system. PMS. Need I say any more? Because all of a sudden, there's this yearly appraisal conversation, which none of us like to have, and you just get a mark out of 5 or whatever. And it does not achieve the objectives of increasing performance. All of a sudden, it seems like I'm like the photocopier. You know, I'm a human resource, so I'm not anything better than any of the equipment, and they just want to fine-tune me a little bit. Like some Indian cars there in Durban, you know, just tweak, make a few changes and optimize, you know, performance. No. I think those crucial conversations have to happen on a regular basis, and I think we are way more complex. If the environment that is created in whichever organization I'm a part of, where I feel that I can make valuable contributions and where my effort counts. There's a good book, and for those of you who don't read, there's also a 10-minute video clip version of it with animation, so the pictures. Daniel Pink wrote a book called Drive. Drive. Daniel Pink. It's 10 years old, and it's about what motivates us. And he did various studies, and MIT did research, and he basically condensed it and published it, and he found that money is one of the worst motivators there is. Pay people enough that money is no longer on the table. Remember what Steve said, the way that you attract someone is how you will have to retain them. So joining bonus, exit bonus. Some of you have received those exit bonuses, I could see. So he found 3 main things, bigger motivators than money. And those are purpose. Someone can feel that his or her purpose, calling, vision, mission is personally aligned with that of the organization. JFK visited NASA in the 60s, and he went to interview each and every person there, met the most incredible rocket scientists, and when he asked each one of them what they're doing there, and when he met the janitor, she responded and said, "Mr. President, I am busy putting a man on the moon." She realized that her contribution in that organization mattered. She believed in the purpose or the vision of the organization, and if the place wasn't left clean, one of these rocket scientists might have ran, slipped, broken his neck, and the Russians could have beaten them to the moon. Some of you believe that they actually did, and others believe they were never even on the moon. You conspiracy theorists. My personal vision, purpose, does it align with that of the organization? Purpose. Second thing is autonomy. The way I make that contribution to an organization, do I have a certain amount of flexibility? Can I bring my own uniqueness to the way I do it? No. The way we used to do it, we did it between 8 and 5, at 2 tea breaks, 1 lunch break, and you're allowed to. The one organization I was involved in, one of the values was fun. So my first observation was, wow, you guys hide it well. And they explained to me, so it was an consulting engineering firm, and they explained to me, no, the way engineers have fun is at your desk, quietly on the inside, while you're performing your job. So Purpose, autonomy, and the last thing is mastery. Am I allowed to grow in my skill? If there's a learning environment or a learning organization, we can learn from each other, I can pursue mastery to become the best in whatever skill it is. So if we get to the DISC, which is a behavioral assessment, there are 4 quadrants, D, I, S, or C, and the D stands for dominance, or you're a driver. So we can all point, but please don't, to the drivers in the room. We know who you are, because you told us. It's like certain high schools in Pretoria. We know who attended them, because you told us. So the D, the dominance or the driver, those people see the big picture. They're straight to the point. They accept challenges. They're bored with my presentation and frustrated because there are no slides. There's not 7 points, and can I just get to the point here? They can also be blunt. Some of them don't have filters, so they sometimes leave casualties. Don't ask them if you don't want an honest response, does this dress make me look fat? Because they'll tell you, no, it's your fat that makes you look fat. It's not the dress. So the drivers, the D personality types, often sleep on the couch when they're in relationships. It's all about bottom line. It's about results. That's what the emphasis is on for them. Then the I people, the I stands for influence. They are more enthusiastic, optimistic. They collaborate. They dislike being ignored. They want attention. They focus on relationships. They value persuading others. Some of you might call it manipulation, but let's use persuading others. And then the S. Some of you in the room, and we can point to you, boy, you are so steady. It's steadiness. You have a calm manner. Some might call it slow, but in this instance, we'll stick with thorough. Thorough, so deeglik. You dislike being rushed. Because, yes, cooperation and sincerity and dependability is very important to you. And then the C is conscientiousness. You guys are independent. Means you don't like people. If you hear group project, teamwork, you want to cry. There's a part of you that dies on the inside. You like objective reasoning, so you think you're more clever than the rest of us. You are detail-oriented. You fear being wrong. So you need all the information you can possibly get before you will speak or make certain assumptions. Quality, accuracy, bean counting, expertise, competency. It excites you. That's DISC. The second assessment we did was MBTI, and that was based on Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's psychological personality types based on Jung's theory. And there are 4 quadrants, but there are options. So it could end up in 16 unique combinations of these variations. So the first, you're either an I or an E. Introversion versus extroversion. Now, the most common mistake is that the extroverts are the guys that speak all the time, and the introverts are shy and they never say a word. It's a misconception, because there are exceptions to the rule. So a better, more accurate way to test whether you are an introvert or an extrovert is to ask the question, what energizes you? To speak out of our marriage and out of our household, if we had a busy week, deadlines, busy week, long hours at the office, the way my wife and I would picture the ideal weekend is exactly the opposite. For her, and for the introverts in the room, you just want a quiet, relaxing time alone at home. Maybe read a book. If your love language is quality time, that does not mean let's watch the rugby game together. It is no switch off all electronic devices. Your eyes, my eyes have to connect. That's quality time. One person maximum. Now for me, it's been a tough week. Who can we invite over for a braai? If we plan a holiday, but one of the first things I would think of is who are we going to invite with? One of the first things my wife would think of, which destination is as far as possible away from human life? Introvert, extrovert, what charges you or recharges your batteries? Then there's S and N, and it doesn't stand for what you think. It's for sensing or intuition. And yes, there is an N in intuition. It doesn't start with it. I didn't write the MBTI, okay? S or N, it's sensing or intuition. How do you perceive information? Is it the external world, your senses through which you are influenced? Or is it your internal world that influences how you perceive information? Then there's the third quadrant, T or F. It's thinking versus feeling. Logic versus emotions. How do you judge or how do you make decisions? You've perceived information and how are you going to process it and then make certain decisions. And then the fourth quadrant is a J or a P. It's judging or perceiving. The judging guys are organized, structured, they love plans. The perceiving guys like to improvise. Let's wing it. Where are we going to eat Friday evening? Well, let's see. Let's get in the car and on the way, we'll decide. And we tend to freak out our partners who like it slightly more structured. Okay, so that is my version of that. And Miriam, please don't be too harsh on me in your comments afterwards if I missed it. If one coach from each table could please come and fetch something here from my lovely wife. Can we have a round of applause for my super sexy, hot wife?